All right, so broad brush, since you were there and I was not, and I was living vicariously through you, broad brush what you saw this afternoon or this morning.
I was coming into today's joint practice because I doubt very seriously we are going to see any of the ones during the preseason, just based on what we saw today. I needed to see some efficiency on offense from Bryce Young and that offensive line group, and I saw it today. Bryce sliced and diced that Jets defensive squad that's ranked one of the best in the league on several one-on-one periods during the practice session. I think it's important to note Quinnen Williams did not practice today, so he could have been a disruptive factor along that defensive line for the Jets. But Bryce seemed comfortable. He was getting the ball out. He was doing well with scramble drills. Terrace Marshall flashed. He had 2 touchdown catches and a deep ball catch. He threw it deep to Mingo. So I was very impressed by what I saw from the first team offense today.
All right, did you use the phrase that Bryce Young was in carve mode today?
He was dicing up the defense a bit, and it was I was kind of shocked because a couple of them were against he did not hesitate to go at Sauce Gardner.
Right.
One of those touchdown catches by Terrace Marshall, Gardner was in coverage. So yeah, Bryce kind of diced up that Jets defense a bit, and I know they try to be calm with things in their post game interviews, but I could tell Bryce was very pleased with his performance today.
Yeah, based on everything we have heard from Dave Canales, he has been. We've had a lot of platitudes, right? We have not a lot of specifics, a lot of positivity, but there hasn't necessarily been a lot of positivity to really, back it up. And again, living vicariously through at Keep Blitzen on Twitter today, there did seem to be a lot of good things. So how was the head coach coming out of this?
I think the head coach is somewhat relieved after what we saw during the first preseason game against the Patriots, where the offense was pretty much anemic, despite outside of when they put Luton in for that last drive and they were able to do something. But to see his team actually have some success in the red zone, have some success driving the ball downfield, I thought was a confidence booster for him as well. You mentioned all of the great energy and attitude. He did show a little bit of disdain for how Terrace Marshall handled one of his touchdown catches. It caused the first kind of dust up during practice.
Yes.
He threw the ball at Reed in the back after scoring the touchdown, and it caused a little friction. But honestly, I like the fight. This offense got ran through the mud all last season.
Right.
And to me, it's a tone setter when your guys have a little bit of edge to them in these joint practices. You can't say you want dogs on your team, but when the rubber hits the road, they act like puppies. And today, I saw some dogs, even in the midst of those scuffles, coming to the defense of their teammates, or even showing a little swag after the touchdown catches. So Canales might not have liked it. I loved it.
Yeah, look, you have to play with some emotion anyway, and if it's going to take the place of the game for a lot of these players, and my guess is that it will, even though I would like to see them go against the Jets' twos, because the Jets aren't going to play their ones on Saturday night. I'd love to see Bryce and the first-team offense get 2 series in the game and then not play against Buffalo, so we could just see them operate on the field as a unit. I would love to see that, but I don't mind I call them skirmishes more than anything else. You like dust up? You like fights? What do you? I think because they weren't really that serious.
No, it wasn't like we've seen where practice had to be shut down and teams had to have huddles in order to quell things. It was not that bad at all. Skirmish is a good term. A little dust up. I also say it got a little spicy.
Nice.
But nothing that was a disruption to getting the work done. And that's why I don't see the problem with it. If it's a little spice, that's fine, because all we got was blandness.
Yeah.
Last year. So give me the heat.
Yeah, we'd like that. And last week, all we got was what I thought was the same show I had been seeing for the last 5.5 years. But let me ask you, we'll get to the defensive side in a second. Offensive players that you think, I know Chuba Hubbard left with an injury. He should be okay. Robert Hunt left and came back. Jatavian Sanders left. I don't think he came back, but he should be okay. The only injury is probably Chandler Zavala, the guard, based on everything that I've read. But who popped for you? I know you've already said about Terrace Marshall. Who else on the offensive side of the ball impressed?
You know, that, and I watched the one-on-ones with the offensive line versus the defensive line of the Jets. I was impressed at how Corbett says him moving to center is a non-story. It's a non-story until you mess up, right? And then when you mess up, right, it's a story. And I was looking to see if he was going to mess up today. In one-on-ones, he held his own. In team drills, he held his own. So it was refreshing to see, with even coming off of an injury, even switching positions, he was very stout in his protection of Bryce, along with the other guys. Like Robert Hunt is going to be a beast. Damian Lewis is going to be a beast. Even Icky, threw a defensive lineman to the ground. So if I had to pick one guy off the line, it would be Austin Corbett. But that whole entire line did what they needed to do for the most part during this joint session. All
right, Vashti Hurt is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Keep Blitzin', CarolinaBlitz.com. On the other side of the ball, Trevin Wallace had a turnover. It might have forced a fumble that wasn't a turnover. Defense looked fairly good against Aaron Rodgers and company, yes?
Listen, they looked okay. They looked okay. I for the first portion of practice, I was watching offense, and then I watched defense. And Aaron Rodgers was slicing and dicing as well. And this is what you expect from a guy like Aaron Rodgers, though. And there were moments where, and I have to put it in perspective because neither one of the anticipated cornerback starters were playing. So JC was on a snap count. He didn't play during the period that I was watching.
Okay.
Dane Jackson is injured. He's expected to be out for a while. So Rodgers was going up against basically backups, or what would essentially be a backup, and he had success against it. But, and this is what JC said in his press conference, when they got down to the red zone, they didn't make it easy for him to put the ball in the red zone. They had that the interception that you mentioned. There was a goal line fumble and recovery by the Carolina Panthers. So they bent, but they didn't break in the 11-on-11 portions that I saw defensively. They even gave up a chunk play, but they didn't give up any touchdowns. So I guess that's a positive. And they turned the ball over twice.
All right, I know you don't cover the Jets, but if you were a Jets reporter or a Jets coach, how would you feel coming out of today?
I would feel like I felt as a Panthers reporter the last few years when they went up against Indianapolis, when they went up against the Patriots, when they went up against the Jets last year. It was a precursor for what we could expect during the season. I wouldn't be as – the Jets got beaten by the Panthers. I'm just going to say that. They got beaten by the Panthers during practice, but they still have 8. And 8 is a game changer. And so I don't think they'll be that worried. You have to put into perspective that they were without their, Pro Bowl defensive tackle and Quinnen Williams. But it's going to give you pause that an offense that was ranked the worst in the league went up against your top-ranked defense and was able to move the ball and score touchdowns. So I wouldn't be in panic mode, but it would definitely give me pause.
All right, final thing for Vashti Hurt. At Keep Blitzin on Twitter, CarolinaBlitz.com. I don't know how many of the players that we saw in the joint practice or that you saw in the joint practice are going to play Saturday night against the Jets, but what is your sense of who is going to play? Like, is Bryce going to play at all in the preseason? Are we going to ever see during a game before we get to the opener, anything that resembles a first-team offense or defense on the field?
I was having this discussion with some fellow reporters. The best opportunity to have that first-team offense would have been that first preseason game. I can't see Canales and listen, first team got the majority of the snaps during this joint practice. Mm-hmm. Second team was rarely out there. I can't see, especially with some of the guys being banged up, I can't foresee them putting first team offense out there in this preseason game on Saturday. And historically, that final preseason game is for guys who are on the fringe of the roster, backup guys who collect tape. So I don't think we see them in the preseason. I'm on the fence about how I feel about that, but I would not be surprised if Bryce Young and that first team offense didn't get a preseason game snap.
Yeah, I'm not on the fence about that. I mean, do I think it matters? Do I think not playing in the preseason means that they won't do well in the regular season? No. But I look at it from a perspective of a fan. I just want to see because Thursday was so bad to watch that I just want to see the first team go out there and look like an NFL offense for one series. I just don't care who it's against. Even if it's against air, the Jets' third team, go out and look like you're a bunch of pros, because Thursday just looked to me like more of what we have seen over the last 5.5 years. But everything that Keep Blitzin on Twitter was putting out today was an encouraging sign. So thank you very much for letting us borrow you for a few minutes today. I appreciate it, Vashti.
All right. Thanks for having me, Adam.
You're awesome. Vashti Hurt.